What's going on, everybody? It's your boy KRYPTONIAN saying here, bringing you guys another Black Clover chapter review for Black Clover Chapter 352. And now that Chapter 352 is done in the books, do we got a lot to talk about with this one, because the famed five-headed dragon has been taken down in one major coordinated fashion that takes the heart of the shonen trope that teamwork will conquer everything, and it puts it on steroids, because that was one nasty coordinated set of panels that we saw here, especially when we factor in how this chapter and what we just saw builds off the message of the last manga chapter. With the initial thoughts out of the way, let's back things up a bit and dive into the recap portion of the review. So the chapter opens up with Ryuuya telling Asta it's time for them to put everything into the next attack, which is basically him pulling a Yami and saying it's time to push past your limits. However, this time it's Ryuuya saying, Asta, you're not going to be alone. Allow the Ryuzen 7 to set the stage for you. And it's then that Ryuuya does the one thing that One Piece fans have waited years for Zoro to do. Ryuuya reveals what's beneath his eye when he removes his eye patch. The tengetsu is shown, and its design is inspired the usual memes of Black Clover's copied Naruto for the 900th time. And as someone who's built 2 channels talking about Naruto, I'm saying the hate for the tengetsu design is absolutely overblown here. And the hate that we're seeing, it is not warranted. Japanese man writing a Japanese manga inspired by things in Japanese culture. Who would have thought that that would have been a thing? The Sharingan design with the magatamas and the Mangekyo designs aren't something that Masashi Kishimoto magically created himself. Taking inspiration from the same source, mixing and meshing ideas and adding your own twist onto it isn't something that just started here with Naruto or Black Clover. Key parts of Naruto's second half of the story, i.e. Shippuden, literally are lifted from a video game, but it's Masashi Kishimoto's own twist to it, just like this is Tabata's own twist to what we're seeing here with the tengetsu. So now that we've moved past the controversy, I do enjoy the design and the magatamas around that whole page that is shown, not just with the eye but the panel itself. This leads to Ryuuya revealing that the 5 heads need to be cut off all at the same time with Asta's anti-magic attack in order to bring down the dragon. Ryuuya says that the tengetsu is going to be used and he's going to help lead them to the most favorable outcome, and we see Ryuuya begin to start taking charge. And what I like about this is that it's a brilliant piggyback off of the ending of the last chapter, where we see Ryuuya using the very same eye that Yasuga wasn't sure was going to be worth giving up his power for, but this eye is what allows Ryuuya to quarterback the team of the Ryuzen and Asta to victory, which goes to show that not all power needs to have force and not every weapon needs to be a sharp blade used for killing. I love the symbolism and the messaging that Tabata is pulling off here. The next thing that we see is that Fuji uses his sound jutsu to project Ryuuya's voice to everyone and allow him to coordinate their attacks and movements, putting them each in the optimal position to do the most damage when they coordinate attacks with Asta. We then get a major payout to Asta and Ichika's relationship, where in the past we've seen that she isn't necessarily the biggest fan of Asta, though she has warmed up to him, and it was a running meme at one point that she was using Asta like a punching bag, but we see that Asta has fully converted her into becoming part of his growing harem of women who absolutely adore him, because she's cheering on Asta here and she takes her place in the formation and in order to help Asta bring down the 5-headed dragon. And this leads to Asta cutting off all 5 heads of the dragon all at once, and Ryuuya gives him a huge heap of praise in the process. While the chapter itself is very straightforward, what I enjoyed most about this is the fact that we continue to see Asta get lessons that will serve him when he does eventually become the Wizard King, and Tabata's hammering home even further that his time in the Land of Sun isn't just to have Asta experience a hardcore training arc before he goes one-on-one with Lucius again, nor was it just to have Asta face his inner demons and overcome them, but it was also meant to allow Asta to see firsthand what being a leader of men, not just of men, but a whole nation of men, is truly meant to be, and what it means to take that responsibility onto oneself. Asta has seen Julius act as Wizard King. He's seen the king of the Clover Kingdom pretty much be useless, but here in the Land of Sun, he's seen Ryuuya act in a way that is teaching lessons of the pure sense that he's likely soaking in if Asta's paying attention. Ryuuya from the very beginning of this arc has had a very quiet confidence about himself that lets it be known that he is indeed a man in charge. He's been shown developing people like Ichika, placing her in moments where she's uncomfortable around Asta due to what Asta represents to her, but knowing deep down that not only will she train him as he's asked her to do, but the wounds inside of her through unknown means will eventually be healed. He's got the Ryuzen at his beck and call. He's used his power to protect people, not just from the paladin evidence, but also the five-headed dragon of the underworld, and he's done it all without getting any blood on his hands or any dirt underneath his fingernails. Asta's seen firsthand that a true leader doesn't have to be on the front line for every fight or any fight at all. A true leader can assess the situation and make the best judgment call needed to put those underneath him or her in a position of success, and they find a way to mitigate the risk while doing so to limit any casualties or crushing failures. Asta has seen how a leader is able to both inspire others to do great things, but he's also experienced how Ryuuya, through Asta's interactions with the Ryuzen, have been able to actually show Asta how to reach for something inside of Asta that he didn't know existed. We've seen Asta very slowly learn that the physical side isn't the only thing needed for a leader. Up until now, we've seen him train his body daily through numerous push-ups and sit-ups and lifting weights and running and fighting some of the strongest characters to have ever existed in the verse. However, he's been forging his spirit and his mind and his heart while he's been here in the Land of Sun, and we're seeing it come to a head using Zetten and how he's able to strike at the right moment to get the most out of his anti-magic power. In short, Ryuuya has been guiding Asta to become the best version of himself and become the version of himself that's going to be needed to be Wizard King one day. However, as the late great Kobe Bryant once famously said in the NBA playoffs, the job's not done. And Yasuga alluded to that in the last manga chapter, saying that they have to make a man out of Asta. There's still room for Asta to grow because Asta is still young. Even though he's learning these lessons, the thing about youth is that even after you learn the lesson, that hard head of yours is going to at times force you to learn the same lesson again in a different way until it truly sinks in, and honestly, that's okay. That's part of the experience of transitioning from being a boy into becoming a man, which is where Asta's at. The man that he is becoming is a man who will one day be a man who leads other men, and he's learning that there's other types of leadership and not every leadership style is fit for every situation he'll face as a leader. That being said, I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on the chapter. Was the defeat of the five-headed dragon anticlimactic, and where do you fall on the whole Sharingan and Tengetsu controversy? While you think that over, click here to watch these other Black Clover videos you see on the screen right now.